Welcome back to Choirwire, the podcast keeping music educators connected to the art of teaching. I'm Alex, your host. Today we're diving into a topic that's equal parts joyful, awkward, and deeply rewarding: directing male students in choir. Whether you're guiding a room full of adolescent baritones or coaxing tone from a shy tenor, this episode is for you. It's for all of us. We'll explore the joys, the challenges, and the quiet victories of working with male-identifying singers, and how directors of all identities can foster trust, artistry, and belonging. Let's start with the joy. There's something uniquely delightful about the energy male students bring into the rehearsal. The inside jokes, the unexpected tenderness. The moment a student who's been mumbling for weeks suddenly sings out with pride. I feel like sometimes my male students are the students that I have to work harder with. The female students are a lot easier to get through to, I think, and they're more motivated most times. Sometimes the male students, they're a little nervous because their voice change, so it's really hard for them to want to buy in. Directors often find that male students respond deeply to authenticity, humor, and clear expectations. They thrive when rehearsal becomes a space where they can be expressive without fear, goofy without shame, and musical without judgment. And a lot of times, too, I'm goofy right there with them because they enjoy that. They have fun with that. But directing male singers isn't always smooth sailing. We know that for sure. There's the vocal unpredictability of puberty, the resistance to vulnerability, the social dynamics that make expressive singing feel uncool, and sometimes the emotional labor of helping boys name feelings they've never been taught to express. Directors often find themselves doing invisible work, building trust, modeling emotional fluency, and navigating cultural expectations around masculinity. It's not just about tone, it's about safety, permission, and patience. So how do directors create spaces where male singers thrive? They normalize the awkwardness. They use humor as a bridge. They name the emotional work of singing. They build rituals of connection, section check-in, shared warm-ups, goofy games that lower the stakes. They invite students to take ownership of their sound. They create space for silliness and seriousness. And they remind every singer that their voice matters, not just musically, but personally. When I'm doing any kind of vocal warm-up or a vocalese with my tenor bass choir, I think that a lot of times some of them are having issues, of course, with puberty, some more than others, where it's tough for them to navigate through their different registers. And so helping them navigate through that, we do a lot of sighs and sirens. We do a lot of crazy, silly sounds. And I just say, enjoy the silly, embrace the silly. And we're all silly together. And that kind of helps out. And also, too, if the voice cracks, it cracks. I said that shows that you are growing. So we're going to turn a negative moment into a positive, because sometimes they're like, oh my God, I cracked. I'll never sing again. And so we have to sort of turn it around on them. So that way they're like, okay, my voice is going to crack here and there, and it doesn't matter. Directing male singers is a dance of tone, trust, and timing. It's about showing up with clarity and care. It's about creating a space where boys learn that expression isn't weakness, it's power. I remember back when I was in high school choir, my amazing Mama Boot, as we called her and still call her, and she had, the size of the classes that I remember were, 60 boys strong. And the way that she handled those classes, there was joy, there was, still the sternness, and there was love. And I just think about those moments of how we enjoyed being there every single day. And, she could probably put in front of us, Mary Had a Little Lamb, and we'd be like, yeah, let's sing it, So she had a way of using that friendly competition and just her way of letting us into who she was. And it just really helped create such a great dynamic. A lot of the ways that she would teach her tenor bass choir, I definitely am modeling sometimes after that to teach my tenor bass choir. As a male director teaching tenor bass, male identifying voices, it is sometimes easier for them to sort of catch on and, catch on to the model. But sometimes it's still tough. And I think about, last week and the previous weeks, I've been working with boys on pitch matching. And one of the issues that we have in our beginner tenor bass choir is some of them are really good about matching the people next to them. Like I'll put some strong singers sort of on a bookend of the person that needs the help. And that has helped some of them. I feel like I try so many different techniques. We do the scooping where I say, here's your note, ooh, and they go, ooh. And I say, let's scoop into it, ooh, and we make it a game. I say, hey, I'm going to have you scoop up to that note. If you match it, if the majority of us match it, you get a point. But if the majority of us don't, then I get a point. And we talk about, of course, how to match. We are using fast air. We're engaging our core, all of that stuff, thinking before we make a sound, because sometimes adolescent singers, they just kind of, they just make a sound out of their mouth instead of thinking before they make a sound. I've also taken a couple of students into my office and had them count to 60 really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then from there, I'm trying to find that pitch wherever they're counting on the piano. And then I stop them right there. And let's say if I was counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I say, okay, here's your starting note. And I play them on the piano. And I have them go, ooh, and then I'm going up, I'm modulating on the piano, and that kind of catches them. So any boys that are like, ooh, in class, that is some magic that I learned a long time ago that somehow it helps the majority of them. And I say, wow, you have a really extended range, but they have an issue matching a voice, but they can match a percussive instrument, so a percussive stringed instrument. So it's a different playing field with tenors and basses. With sopranos and altos, not so tough. I can have them match. I'll sing in my strong falsetto, not all the time, but most times, and I usually have not had any huge major issues. But with tenors and basses, yeah, sometimes it is a tricky thing. And a lot of times, too, it's a muscular thing as well, because, of course, the voice is a muscle, so they're just not used to working out that muscle. And sometimes it's just going to take time. So you have to give them time. You have to allow them to have patience to keep developing their instrument. There was a boy today. I went around listening, and he was last week. He was down here in the basement, and he was one of the ones that I worked with. And we were holding out a note, and I said, wow, you're actually matching. He's like, I am. So he felt really good about that, and he was very, very confident about it. So I love to see the wins of, they fix something, because he was having a struggle. His voice did not want to basically go in that direction. It's almost like if you were to take me, if you've ever seen my body before, well, not like that, but if you've ever seen, I'm not the skinniest person, but I'm also not the most limber person either. It's almost like if I went to a yoga class or I went to a ballet class, and they're like, okay, everybody, let's bend our leg over our heads and hop on one foot. Like, my body's not meant to do that. So same thing for tenors and basses. Sometimes their voices are just not meant to do that. They've not had the experience of using their voices in that way. So we have to give them that patience. I also wanted to get the female director's perspective. I've seen sometimes it's difficult for tenors and basses to match that female voice, and sometimes they might either sing way down below, after hearing the female voice, or they might even try to match in the same octave. So sometimes we have to make that transfer for them. And I thought, nobody better to speak on it than a amazing female choir director from my area. And she is going to speak on her experience from teaching adolescent boys. Please welcome to Choirwire, Rebecca Hammock. Rebecca, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And Rebecca, well, first of all, everybody out there, I wanted to say that Rebecca is one of our prized possessions here down in Orlando, and she's been around with us for a while, but she's done a couple of different things, but we enjoy the fact that she's down here as a great resource. And Rebecca, you're going to just tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience and your career.
Sure. I was teaching in the classroom for 21 years, and I've recently left the classroom, and I am now the choir director for Bach Festival Winter Park Youth Choir. I also help out and mentor teachers with OCPS, and I go around and clinic all counties, MPAs, all that funness, and just really enjoy going into the classroom and working with all the different choirs. My primary background is in middle school. I taught middle school for 17 years. I also taught high school. I love all the ages. They're so much fun.
I am so happy that you are a resource for our county right now, because it's so needed. And I think it's great to have someone that is able to go out and just mentor these new teachers, or teachers that, you were in my classroom, what was that, last year or 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah. So
I love it. I love being able to go into everybody's classroom and have fun and see all the really great teaching that's going around, and able to just collaborate with all the different directors, and just it's a lot of fun.
Well, let's jump into these questions here. So this is an add-on episode of teaching adolescent voices and teaching tone, but some of the things that I thought about first is, before you develop tone, there's a couple of different things that you have to establish first, different concepts. And I wanted to get a female's perspective, especially teaching adolescent males, because that can be quite a challenge sometimes. So these questions are more tailored to that aspect of the job. So the first question says, adolescent male voices can shift dramatically from week to week. How do you build trust and credibility when your own vocal experience doesn't mirror what they're going through?
So it is very, as a female coming in, when I first had my first TB choir, I was very intimidated. I will tell you that. I did all the research. I bought all the books, listened to all the resources. And then I realized it's not so different. There's some challenges that you don't find in treble voices, but there's a lot of rewards. I give my singers a lot of ownership, because I've not gone through the male voice change. I've gone through a female voice change, but not a male voice change. So I put the power back into my male singers and have them know what the difference between their head and chest voice. Also have them know that patience and time is going to be your best friend. So you can't rush it. If the first day of school, everybody's singing on pitch, you just hit gold star status. Like, that is like amazing. It's not going to happen very often, but when that happens, it's a miracle. You're always going to have some students that are singing at the bottom, that are basically just speaking, and some that can match pitch. And you have to understand that it will take time to be able to develop those tones and develop everybody getting on pitch. I make sure that I have the students understand between their head and chest voice. I always do vocalises descending scales. So I always start way up in their falsetto range. So I'm in E4 for G4, like I'm up there where they're really uncomfortable, but they have a better chance of matching pitch that way. And I work all the way down. One of the things I love to do about once a week is I have them raise their hand when they feel like they're switching gears, when they're getting out of that falsetto and into mixed or chest voice. Then I'll say, okay, when are you going to mix? When are you going to chest? In the beginning, I just falsetto and chest voice. Because some days they're going to be able to sing every note. Some days they're not going to be able to.
Right.
And if they understand that and they're like, oh, today I can't sing that note. It's crunchy. It's not, I can't phonate it. And they can come up and be like, I can't hit that note today. I'm like, that's okay. Audiate it. Hear it in your head and then move on from that. So I let the students, because I didn't go through that. I do also encourage them that if we've developed their falsetto, it's going to strengthen their lower notes. It's going to give them better pitch. I also encourage them that they have such a gift as a female. They're going to have a much larger range than I'm ever going to have. Right. And I don't know about you. I'm very jealous of their range. So I let them have that. So I build them up that way, knowing that they have this wonderful range of that we will never obtain as females.
Right. Yeah. And I love what you said about having them raise their hand when they get to that switch, because I feel like, my school is, I feel like I'm the Ellis Island sometimes of our county, because I get kids from all over. And I have kids that will have experience, and then I have kids that don't have experience. That's with any school. But at the same time, I'm like, I feel like I'm trying to tailor my teaching to so many different ability levels that I have to start at the beginning,
Yes,
the very, very beginning sometimes. And just having them feel that change from their falsetto into their modal voice, sometimes they don't even realize that that's a thing.
Correct.
They're just like, oh, my voice cracks, like, oh, I don't want my voice to crack. And so some of them don't even want to explore that range at all, so it's a tough challenge, even as a male. It
is. In middle school, I had a big poster that whenever a male's voice cracked in rehearsal, they got to sign their name on it. I could only do it once a 9 weeks, but I made it very like a common event. Like, it's going to happen. It's going to be okay. And by the end of the 9 weeks, you can see almost everybody's name was written on there. So a voice crack was not like a thing, oh my God, I'm ashamed that my voice cracked. It was kind of like a rite of passage.
The second question, what are some strategies that you've used to help with pitch matching when you can't always model the same octave as your male singers?
So there's a lot of strategies. I will tell you that it is hard. And my voice teacher would totally disagree with this. Sometimes I would sing in that tenor range, but there's no way I can sing in the bass range. Not at all, to be able to match that. There's a couple of things I do. I've had students that come in for, like, first of all, it's going to be time. It's not going to happen overnight. So consistency is really important. My vocal leases always start at the same place. I'm always working descending scale. Occasionally I'll do a couple of ascending scales, but everything is descending, changing from your falsetto down to your chest voice, exploring all those different colors in there. Students will be able to match better if they're in their falsetto. Once they switch into that chest voice, so once they switch to that mixed chest voice, that's usually when they drop like those 2 octaves. Knowing that when they do that, sometimes I give them a little look like, ooh, there's your switch. You just lost the pitch. And I have that conversation with them on the side, like, hey, when we have that, I'm going to show you. The other thing is I play it up 2 octaves. So if I play it up 2 octaves and they're singing 4 octaves down, they usually migrate up.
Right.
So if I'm playing things way, way higher than them, it actually does help with that. A lot of physical things too. I have students put their hands over their heads in order to feel that placement, in order to feel that it needs to come from above as opposed to being like super low. And for those students that are really, really difficult, that just haven't been able to get it, usually in a week or 2, they will be able to get it. But I had a student, I love him to death. He was in my choir 6th grade, 7th grade, bless his heart. He could barely match pitch. He had those 4 notes, and that's all they had. And I would work with him. I would make him a 1-minute recording that I would ask, you need to practice this. You need to listen to this at least once a day, 3 times a day. And then I would expand that recording. I'd make a new recording every couple of weeks for him to expand that range. He ended up majoring in vocal performance at a UNF. Yes, he's a great guy. So sometimes patients, by 8th grade, he was singing with great pitch recognition. Sometimes they just need to train those ears. Another thing you can do in the class is a lot of ear training, a lot of solfege drills, ear training. and limit those ranges. You don't want to start off with 2-octave ranges in the beginning of the year. If you're having pitch issues, you want to even less than a scale, or modify your scale. Start on do, go to so, and then descend down to so if they can't get all the way up to do from an ascending way. So those are just a few ways that I've found success.
Yeah, it is such a tough job with pitch matching. I had 2 boys that have been just straight up anomalies, and this is year 15, and I have worked really hard with them. And one boy, at first I was like, okay, you'll get there eventually, but it is now his senior year, and sometimes it just takes others longer than the others, and he somehow found his pitch matching just singing with one of his friends in a practice room, just playing around. And
Amazing.
which was very strange, because I was like, I've given you 3 years of instruction, and then by your senior year, you're just like, hey, it works now. Which, I mean, it depends on their puberty as well.
Yes.
So that is another thing too, where I'm just like, man, there was another boy, he just, whenever he would get past I think C4, his voice it was like he was hitting a ceiling. And he had no falsetto at all, because I think it was his first year with me. Yeah. First or second year of choir. And so he had just missed a lot of instruction, but he just could not get past C4. And so it almost looked like it was painful. And I was looking at the Adam's apple, and it just was not moving. So it's like sometimes those physicality things, that's just a body thing that, more practice is, like you made that recording. I made a recording for him, and it helped. It really did help, because it helped with the movement, the physicality of it all, of the singing. I also thought about this recently, and I don't know how this will work out, but I remember there was also thinking about lifting something heavy that I've seen from people before. And I was like, I wonder if resistance bands would help maybe to get them, because you need that good resistance in the vocal cords to, get to those higher pitches. So I don't know. That's an experiment that I'm going to do. But
a lot of zzz also works with all that. I use a lot of V. I use a lot of V.
A V, yes.
And you can do it with a siren of V or zzz. And it tends to really help with that upper range even more than a siren sometimes. The other thing, I did this a lot with my middle school guys. Those I affectionately call them the bottom feeders of they stayed on one note just because they thought that's what it was to sing. I would have them just state the alphabet and find where that note is and work from there. That's how I would find. So have them say something that they don't have to think about, because if you make them think about it, they're going to start to talk really low. So it's something that they've also, happy birthday, something along those lines, and then get them working around that area to find those notes. Those who are really struggling with pitch, or if their favorite song, have them sing along to their favorite song.
Right. Or counting to 60 really fast. Sometimes
yes. Yes. It has to be something they can't think about, because I want them to find their natural speaking voice and go from there. Yeah. And I always tell them, that's your lowest note. Everything above that you can do.
The last question, do you find that adolescent boys are more receptive to certain types of feedback, like humor or metaphor, or even peer modeling, especially coming from a female teacher?
I find at the beginning, when I'm just starting to work with the gentleman and the male voice, it's praise. That's what's really going to let down their guard. I have noticed that when I'm working with male voices and there's a female in front, they get a little more guarded, because they're like, okay, she may not understand me. So I make sure to constantly praise what they're doing right. So if they're doing a vowel right, or they were on that right pitch, I bring that to their attention at the beginning. So this is how I develop rapport. Then we add some humor, but I will tell you the best thing is going to be competition. Praise and competition. If you've got a mixed choir, you can put the soprano altos versus the tenor basses. If you've got a TB choir, you can put tenors over basses. You can also do it by class periods, but competition gets them a little bit more worked up. It can even be competition between choir and director. And that seems to engage them more. I love humor in my classroom. I love a little sarcasm in my classroom. But not everybody, I've noticed middle school and high school boys sometimes are very concrete, and they are very open to praise if they're doing a vowel right. And then I start with that praise, and then I tell them to shift just one thing and so forth. And you can see their faces just light up when they do it right.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yes, it is. It is. And then, so I was working with a group last week, and the other thing I do is a lot of physical, like a lot of imagery and a lot of things with your hands and so forth. I was working with an SATB group, and the tenor and basses were very much reaching for the tone. I could see all their chins going forward and so forth. So again, I reminded them to relax their neck and tell them that I love their sound. It's just really heavy. It was bottom heavy. I asked them to create that grapefruit size open sound in the back of their throats, and not to reach for the tone, but to imagine the tone going past my head. And that helps with placement. And a lot of imagery with like the openness of the throat. Sometimes if I'm getting good vowel, if I need from them, I ask them to think about an egg sitting inside their mouth while they're singing. Yep. That also seems to work very well. You can also bring in things and show them. So definitely praise and a little competition, and then a lot of descriptive items.
There was at one point in my career where I felt like I was a magician a little bit, where I had for my next trick, you know?
Yes. Well, we always have a bag of tricks. If one thing doesn't work, we have to adjust and go, okay, let's try this. And sometimes it's just out of desperation, you try something and it works, and you're like, oh, this works. Yay.
Oh, I have a closet full of things to just work with. And I'm like, I feel like a magician sometimes, where I'm like, okay, what is my trick today?
Yes. So, is it a mint? Is it an Oreo? Is it a cup? Is it a straw?
It was last week. It was pinwheels, because we were working on breathing. Yes. And so I bought a class set of pinwheels, and
that's awesome.
I have those going, and it was a competition of who can, keep their pinwheel spinning the longest.
I love that. I love that. I've used bubbles in the past, but pinwheels are definitely less messy.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes.
Usually my beginners, I would start with bubbles, and I would put them in little groups and have them blow bubbles, and making sure that there is a very steady line of bubbles coming out, not a big fat one and a little one. And
residue.
Yes. We would always go outside and do it, which would be nice, fresh air. And then, you'd always get all the summer sales for all the bubbles.
Yes. That's smart. Yes. There's so many things. So
anything to make it work. Yeah. Anything to make it work. The snorts.
Keep them engaged. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So.
You're definitely, any little thing to do to be able to create that space and to be able to create that tone. And
absolutely,
it's great to be silly with them and not take everything so seriously, because that's what that class is about.
Is there any other suggestions or other advice that you would have for, people that might be struggling with teaching the adolescent male voice, or even just adolescent voices in general?
I would definitely listen to as many recordings and find the sound you would like. Because once you have the sound you would like from a particular choir, then you can adapt it and create it. Also have your singers hear it, so they know kind of what sound that you would like. The other thing is, guys especially love food, and they love camaraderie. So I do a lot of team building exercises. I know team building is an awful word, but I will tell you that they love, just once a week, the first 9 weeks, I would always do something fun, 10 minutes at the end of one class. Yeah. And that really helps them feel more comfortable with each other, so they sing better. And I've definitely noticed that is really, really important. So encourage that. And as a female, have a male teacher come in and sing. You want to use your voice, like your natural range. You might sing in the tenor range every once in a while, but you want to sing in your own range. But you should also bring in that model for them and explore that as much as possible, because it's important. They need that that model as well.
And that goes also vice versa.
Yes.
For, if you're a male teacher, have a female teacher come in. I'm blessed to have my co-teacher who is a female.
Yes.
So she models everything. My falsetto only goes so far.
Yeah.
But even still, we don't want them sounding like male in their falsetto.
Correct.
So, and same thing.
Right. And male teachers should also sing in their range in order to demonstrate what a healthy tone sounds like. So they don't only hear that male falsetto range, they hear what a full resonant supported tone is supposed to be. So it is possible. Yes. It is possible for females to conduct male choirs and vice versa. It's actually, they're so much fun. I will tell you that all my TV choirs always learns faster than my simple treble choirs.
Yep.
You have to pace yourself so much faster, and you have to be ready to teach so much more because they just absorb the information so quickly because their brains are just bouncing all over the place, I think.
Always.
So just have as much stuff for them as possible and really challenge them because they really can. It doesn't matter what level they are. They will rise up to it.
Well, Rebecca, this was such great information today.
Thank you.
And I'm so glad that you were able to join us today on Choirwire.
Me as well. Thank you so much. You have a great day.
The challenge with teaching male voices is a consistent, continuous battle, and the battle can be won. Sometimes the battle just lasts a little bit longer than other battles. Directing male singers is a dance of tone, trust, and timing. It's about showing up with clarity and care. It's about creating a space where boys learn that expression isn't weakness, it's power. If you're doing this work, thank you. If you learn from it, share your story. And if you're building a choir where every voice belongs, keep going. You're shaping more than sound. You're shaping hearts. Thank you to today's special guest, Rebecca Hammock. Share this episode with a fellow director. Send us your rehearsal wins and woes. And remember, the most powerful voice in the room isn't always the loudest. It's the one that listens. Until next time. If Choirwire has added a little harmony to your rehearsal week or sparked something new in your planning, consider supporting the show. Just head on over to choirwire.buzzsprout.com to help support. No pressure, just a simple way to keep the ideas flowing and the episodes coming. I have ideas of expanding the show past my small platform. Thank you for all you do, and thanks for being part of this community.